All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing Florida, Mississippi State on Tuesday at the Hump in Starkville. What a setup for this game here. Mississippi State goes on the road, gets a nice win at Georgia. Really needed
Yes.
that one, as we said,
Yes.
for the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, Florida scores the biggest win of the season, the best win of the season for any team in college basketball, winning at Auburn, the previously invincible looking Tigers. Florida gets the win there, and now you've got a quick turnaround for the Gators and Bulldogs playing on a Tuesday night at the Hump. What's better than that, Max?
Yep. This is gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be a fun one at the Hump. We already had what was it in our Saturday night prime time. The games have just ended on Saturday. Eli is already talking about packing the hump. Already talking about Tuesday night. You already know Starkville is going to be up for this one. They've had a few close ones. We're able to pull out the Ole Miss one in overtime, but a 5-point loss at home to Kentucky in a big one, 4-point loss to Alabama in a big one, and then after that one just couldn't get back up for Missouri coming into town after just missing out on Alabama. Mississippi State, extremely, extremely, extremely tough place to play. They, according to KenPom, they have the 8th biggest home court advantage compared to Mississippi State's home and away splits. But man, Florida just picked up the best win of the season.
Yeah, this is a tough one because, listen, yes, and I know most people's eyes, it's like, all right, come on, guys. Florida just won on the road at Auburn. They're going to go win at Mississippi State. Not how it's worked in this league this year very often in terms of just being able to predict some of these spots where, as we said, Max, I mean, remember the theme going into this Auburn game for Florida was that they had really been a mixed bag on the road, right? We talked about that. They had good performances, they had some not some good performances. And so you just didn't really know what to expect. And I think that's where, like, if you're doing it from the trend standpoint, this may be a spot where it's not a bad idea to maybe look at Mississippi State here and say, all right, how can the Bulldogs pull off a win? Because we said it, I think sometimes just from a mindset standpoint, being able to just get that little bit of an exhale like Mississippi State got at Georgia, now we kind of go back to, all right, we're back from square one here. We know we lost by 27 the last time we played at home, right, against Missouri. But now we go get a win, kind of desperation mode, had to go in there and get that one. They did, and now get to come back home playing a Florida team who's coming off the biggest high of the season. And we always talk about letdown spots and the potential for that. So, like, it makes this game so much more intriguing. And I think, Max, when it comes just to the basketball standpoint of this, I mean, the thing is we could go so many ways with Florida because we've said it. Like, yes, their guard group is one of the best in the country. Now, Elijah Martin's status, do we have a hunch on what we think is going to happen there? That's tough, right? So we don't know. But of course, again, if you're a Florida fan, you say, well, we just won at Auburn without him. So if he doesn't play, we'll be fine. Well, I think it's also nice to be at full strength. But the front court, too, here, to me, Tommy Hout, Chinyalu, I mean, we've just talked about it. Condon coming on, looking like an all SEC guy right now. Like, Florida's front court has just been the difference in some of these, especially that game against Auburn on Saturday. And I think, to me, that's what this comes down to because we know their ability to rebound the ball. We talked about that on the offensive side. And I think just seeing the way that group has been playing, man, they have made them so much better. Not just, I mean, they've made them so much better everywhere, both offensively, I think, and defensively. And I think that's going to be something for Mississippi State here, where that's a bit of a challenge in this matchup.
Yeah, when you look at the backcourts, just on Saturday, I was saying, one thing about Mississippi State that kind of holds them back, especially with Clary out, is they don't have a backcourt boost off the bench. They don't have a spark that comes in and lifts up the offensive scoring for the backcourt. It's Hubbard, it's Claudel Harris. You got Sean Jones rotating in there, and if you want to call Riley Kugel in the backcourt, I think he's more of a wing. But still, it's just you don't have much of a boost. Whereas Florida, you bring in Denzel Aberdeen, who could be starting at most D1 schools. So I think you give the backcourt edge to Florida normally. Take Martin out though, and that definitely puts a hole in that advantage that Florida had over Mississippi State with the backcourt depth. Front court, Blake, I think you nailed it. I think that's where the game is going to be decided. I think both backcourts, Clayton, fantastic. Hubbard, fantastic. Claudel Harris, Will Richard, they'll hit their threes, right? It's going to be fun. Front court, though, clear depth and physicality advantage here for the Gators. Can Mississippi State, you see sometimes when a coach challenges a front court. You saw it a few times with Kentucky, saw it a few times with South Carolina, where you go into the matchup saying, man, this front court, I don't think they're going to be able to hold up. Sometimes that's what they need. They get challenged. They step up big time. You're going to have a lot of good minutes from Nwoko. Keyshawn Murphy's going to have to be Keyshawn Murphy, but it's those depth guys. Maybe a little bit of Melendez playing the 4 behind Matthews, Nwoko. It's going to be a tough task for the Bulldogs front court.
Max, are we looking at back-to-back Tommy H games?
I'm here for it.
I mean, our guy, we talked about him a lot. We going back to last summer. Like we said, even at the SEC tournament, we're sitting here saying, all right, that's going to be one of our new favorite guys right there, Tommy H. And, I mean, look, like we said, he's coming off just a fantastic game against Auburn. But I think when you are looking at this, that's certainly something that stands out. But, too, I think about it, and I'm like, just from the perspective of, like, the spot for Mississippi State. They lost by 27 the last time they played on their home court against Missouri. And I think there is something to the fact that, okay, we got something to prove here. We're coming back. We're playing the team that everybody's talking about right now. We feel like this is a great opportunity to sort of step up and have our best game. And like we said, it's just a matter of can you do it against Florida, who is coming off this such a big high. And I think that's the challenge, too, for Todd Golden, is to keep his guys focused heading into this kind of game, knowing how tricky of a road game this is. Anytime you play at the Hump, we've said it, and I know Missouri fans will be like, well, it wasn't so much for us. But like we said, that's just a complete outlier. One of those just, hey, give Missouri all the credit in the world for the way they played, and Mississippi State just could not do anything. But I think in this one, the Josh Hubbard effect, having a guy like that who just completely take over at times, the Riley Kugel revenge game, so many fascinating stories here between these two teams. And like we mentioned too, I think if you're Mississippi State, you're 17-6 overall, you're back to 5-5 in the SEC, but you still don't feel completely safe in terms of your NCAA tournament outlook. But boy, what a win like this would do for that. Because remember too, after this game, Mississippi State 3 of their next 4 on the road, including games at Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Alabama, and their one home game in there is against Texas A&M. So still kind of navigating a pretty tricky stretch here for the Bulldogs. They really need to pick up one of these kind of wins at home. And so, like, again, there's so many kind of fun storylines you can work with in this game.
Well, one I'm going to pull on, and this is a clear, this might be the entire game here. Might be tipping a pick here, but you're looking at Florida's three-point production. That's been a theme for Mississippi State defensively. And I've been saying in my previews for Mississippi State, well, there's no way this can keep happening. It's February 10th, Max. The perimeter defense for Mississippi State has not been great. They've only played 2 SEC games since January 7th, I think it was. Yeah, so on January 7th, Vanderbilt had 5 threes. Since then, I'll read off the three-pointers Mississippi State has allowed.
My goodness.
16, 10, 13, 10, 4, South Carolina. 15, 15, 8.
Georgia.
Georgia.
Not a great three-point shooting team at all. Yeah.
Teams make a lot of threes against Mississippi State. It's the scheme. It's the way that teams have been attacking Mississippi State. Florida's going to hit their threes, Blake. Florida's going to hit their threes. If we come back to this reaction stream after and Florida does not hit double-digit threes, I will be very shocked.
So you're telling me your pick is Mississippi State?
Well, are we ready to go to picks?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm picking Mississippi State.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I thought you were setting me up. Oh,
give me the Bulldogs. The Hump is going to be rocking. Blake, Florida.
Wow.
is coming off of the biggest win of the college basketball season. We're only 2 days removed from that. Is Urban Klobuchar going to be 3 of 3 from 3 again? Is Tommy Hawk going to put up 16 off the bench? Is Sam Alexis going to hit a 3? If they do, I might be in trouble here. But no, really, my pick is based on I think Florida's going to score their points. I think Florida's going to hit their threes. I think this is just a game Mississippi State's due for. I think you're catching Florida kind of, has Elijah Martin practiced? Is Walter Clayton practicing? Are these guys 100%? I think it's a tough spot. Joking aside, I'm going Bulldogs here. Chris is not going Bulldogs. Chris is going Gators. Florida at Mississippi State. I'm tempted to pick the upset because it feels that Mississippi State is due, but I can't pick the Bulldogs based on watching both teams. Florida's size matches up too well, and it has the guard depth. Chris is going Gators.
All right, so I've got a decision to make here. We got to split. Do I stay with Max and make sure the picks lead does not go down, or Max and I are tied, so make sure we stay tied, or do I go with Chris? Well, last time I went with Chris on a Mississippi State game, it did not go well, as we both picked Georgia against Mississippi State. Do I go with him here in this one? I absolutely think there is something to the idea of, like, this is kind of that spot where the hangover effect, it is absolutely real. We've seen teams do this before. Tough road game against the Mississippi State team, like we mentioned, that's kind of searching for some more good wins here. And I mentioned, I think they're absolutely going to play better than they did the last time they were on their home court. I don't think there's any question about that. But I just think Florida is better. And I think sometimes I am going to lean towards that. I am terrified of the hangover effect for this game for the Gators. But, man, there was something in that loss to Missouri, which I know they had the week off, then won it at Georgia. But I don't know. Something about that still, for me, like, is just, how can I feel confident picking Mississippi State to come back and now play the team that has the best win in the country right now? Maybe best 2 wins, as Chris pointed out, with the win at Auburn and the 30-point home win against the number 1 team in Tennessee at the time. So I'm struggling to do it, so I'm going to pick the Gators in this one. All right, there you go. Our thoughts on Florida, Mississippi State. And this one should be a fun one at the hump. Got to be humping, as always. In this one, you guys can turn on your notifications. We'll be reacting live after the game on Tuesday night. So be sure to tune in, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and more predictions on the way. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.